Now, as all you students can see, a lot of people give of their time, their talent, and their treasure to make this STRIVE program work. But the truth be known, they give of their time, talent, and treasure to support a lot of community activities. Why? Because they realize all of us are connected in one way or another, and we are all better off when all of us have a chance to achieve. Education is central to achieving goals. With STRIVE, we hope to introduce you to some tools that will help you in your efforts to move ahead with whatever goals you have set for yourself after high school. But never, never forget that the most important factor in all of this is you. You have to be willing to commit yourselves to achieving your goals. You have to give of your own time, talent, and treasure if you truly want to succeed. Now I'm going to ask Mr. Leslie Jakaki, if he would please, to come up. He has a few comments.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Great. Okay, on behalf of the school community, thank you, students, for participating in this program. And to all the STRIVE mentors, thank you for all that you do. Now, students, this program was not started by me or your principal or the school district. It was started by the STRIVE and the Rotary program. And they did all this because, and Terry referred to some of the things, but I believe that it goes back to one of the core values that we teach you throughout your school career with us, and that's citizenship. Citizenship is doing your part to make the community stronger and better. And that's what these people are doing. They're investing in you so that you can create a better future for our community. So, students, now all these people, they're not doing it because they're of the pay. They're all volunteers. This luncheon, all the treats you get at each of your meetings, the scholarships that some of you may earn, are all coming out of their pockets. So, please, let's take this opportunity to show how much we appreciate for all that they do for all of you. Students, please join me. Best wishes to all of you. Please enjoy the food and the fellowship. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Now I'm going to introduce our main speaker for today. Larry McKenzie is a positive thinking, results-oriented, and team-spirited basketball coach with a sound, verifiable record of success in building winning programs and developing value-based students and positive citizens in their communities. With the same vision and skill he used on the court, Larry has inspired countless youth and adults off the court. Larry is a longtime community advocate. He brings 25 years plus of experience working with urban youth. His service to young people has earned him numerous awards and recognition, including Care 11's 11 Who Care, KTCA's Everyday Hero, and the Minnesota Park and Board's Volunteer of the Year Award. His commitment to the community has been valued on the Metropolitan Council Minority Issues Advisory Committee and as a board member of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Minneapolis, the North Community YMCA, and the Northside Development Council. Over the course of the 9 years at Minneapolis Patrick Henry, Larry used his ability to motivate young people in establishing one of the most successful high school boys basketball programs in the nation. Under his guidance, Minneapolis Patrick Henry won a record 4 consecutive state championships. The National Federation of High School Coaches Association recently honored him with the 2011 Coach Award for Minnesota, and with the same vision and skills used on the court, Larry has now inspired countless youth and adults off the court. I've got a list here of a couple of pages of his accomplishments, but I think you would rather listen to him speak than me. And I understand, and I'm going to leave it for him to let you know about successes at his current North High School. Larry, would you please come up?
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. That great introduction. I always wonder when I go and do this and people get up and introduce me and read all that good stuff, my wife is never around. But before I begin, I just want to say personally to all of you adults, thank you so much for the work that you do with our young people. I understand the time and effort that it takes in terms of the investment. But our young people are so important to us. I mean, obviously they are our future. And so Terry talked a little bit. So I did spend a number of years at Minneapolis Patrick Henry High School. I'm currently the head boys basketball coach at Minneapolis North High School. This will be my second season. Last year we went there, and we were blessed to take a team from worst to first. Prior to going there, they were 0-12 in the conference, and last year we won the conference with 1 8th grader, 7 9th graders, 3 sophomores, and a junior. So got a pretty good team. But I want to say this before I begin to give my speech. I am awfully proud of what we've been able to do in terms of on the basketball court. But what's not in that bio or that introduction is that in 16 years of coaching, primarily at inner city high schools, I have 100% graduation, 100% college. Last quarter, 75% of all of my players were either A or B honor roll students. We've been able to, like many of you, we just calculated a few weeks ago, we've generated over $10 million in scholarship for African-American young men from inner city Minneapolis. So I'm proud of that work. So let me begin with some audience participation. Here's what I need, particularly young people. I need you to repeat after me. If I could change my mind. Come on now, I'm getting ready for basketball practice this afternoon. We got to do better than that. If I could change my mind, I could change my life. If I could change my mind, I could change my life. So let me apologize to all of the educators before I begin, but I want to say this. I once heard a songwriter sing a song, and the songwriter speaks to my life story. As I stand here today, I am truly honored to have this opportunity to speak to you. Because if the story is to be told, I ain't supposed to be here. I ain't supposed to be here. My grandparents were immigrants. They came to this country from the Bahamas. Not on a cruise ship, but on a banana boat. My grandmother, if you saw the movie The Butler, my grandmother was the maid. My grandfather on my father's side was a garbage man. My grandfather on my mother's side never spent a day of his life in a classroom. My grandmother, who I recently lost at 104 years old, has a second grade education. I'm the product of a teen mom. So as I stand here today, I ain't supposed to be here. But one thing that I discovered on this life journey was that my attitude determined my altitude. And so I'm a believer that if I could change your mind, I could change your life. If you could change your mind, you could change your life. And so I often think about this stuff, and I'm just a believer that this is the greatest computer that's ever been invented. This is the greatest computer, and Hewlett-Packard and Dell and Apple and all of those, I mean, they're trying to duplicate this computer. So the reality of it is that the maker of this computer don't make any mistakes. And so there's no problem with the hardware, educators. The problem is the software and the programmers. And so we've got to begin to learn how to think a different way. So for me, how do I do that? One of the things that I do is I have an attitude adjustment that I start with every morning. When I get up and I go through my devotion before I walk out of the door. And the one thing I love music and singers, and always like to take something. And Michael Jackson said something. He said, you can fool a whole lot of people, but you can't fool the man in the mirror. You can fool a whole lot of people, but you can't fool the man in the mirror. And so every morning, I get up, go through my routine, and I go to that mirror, and I start my day with this. That this is the beginning of a new day. I have been blessed with this day to use as I will. I can waste it, or I can use it for good. Because what I do today is important. I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. I must decide, good or bad, gain or loss, success or failure, in order that I would never regret the price that I paid for it. See, we need to understand. I tell young people all the time, there was a time when I didn't bury my classmates. You know, you used to get old and that kind of thing happened, but it's a new time and new era. And we have to understand that every day, certainly, in the spirit of Christmas, is a gift. It's a gift. And I'm probably one of the last few people. There may be some other folks in here, but when I get up in the morning, the next thing that I do after I do that little attitude adjustment in the mirror is I go to the Star Tribune. And I don't go to the sports section. I go to the Metro section and I pick up the obituary column. And I look at all the folks that were here yesterday that are not here today. That I understand that this, so when I walk out of the door, that this is the beginning of a new day. It's a blessing. It's a gift. Today is, what's today's date? December 8th. What year? So today is December the 8th, 2014. Think about it. It's a day that's never been and a day that never will be. You don't get a do-over. You don't get another chance to do December 8th, 2014. What you don't do this day, there is no waking up in the morning talking about my bad. You don't get a chance to do it over. And there's so many people, so especially young people. See, I've been blessed. I tell you that I ain't supposed to be here, but then I look at my situation. Grew up in one of the worst projects in Miami. People used to tell me all the time, Larry, I mean, why are you so interested in going to school? Why? And see, the one thing that I do have to give my parents credit for is that my mom and dad dropped out of college because of me. Because of me. But they went back to school, and so I understood the importance of education. And that's what got me out of the James D. Scott projects, one of the worst projects in Miami. And the one thing that my dad always made sure that we understand, that you got to learn to look beyond your circumstances. And I don't know about all of you all, but I know that there possibly today a Larry McKenzie in here. But in spite of my circumstances, in spite of growing up without a whole lot, I look back. When I go back home now, all those folks that told me that I was never going to be anything. My thing is, look at me now. Look at me now, educator. I'm the author of 3 books. I mean, I've done things that so many people thought that was impossible to do. And I'm just here today to say to all of you young people that there are no impossibilities. Whatever you put your mind to is possible. Every morning, a new day. Regardless of your circumstances, regardless of your situation, regardless of what happened yesterday, if you change your mind, you can change your life. This is the beginning of a new day. I have been blessed with this day, December 8th, 2014, to use as I will. I love my mama. I love my mama. I love my wife. Got 2 kids, 3 beautiful granddaughters. But this day, it's about me using as I will. At the end of the day, when the sun goes down, I can't blame anybody. for what happened? Because it's my choice. I make a decision every morning to use this day. I will. And when I walk out of the door, I must decide good or bad. Good or bad. Gain or loss. Success or failure. So I tell my young men all the time, no excuses about the teacher not liking you. No excuses about what's going on at home. See, one of the greatest stories that you have, I often sit back. Our current president, Barack Obama, born to a single mom, didn't know his daddy. Didn't know his daddy. Grew up on welfare. Had all the excuses in the world. But he knew that if he could change his mind, he could change his life. I often think about the coach that told Michael Jordan he wasn't good enough. See, sometime in life, everybody ain't going to be your friend, but I'm here today to tell you to let your haters be your motivators. Everybody ain't going to be your friend. Everybody ain't going to be your cheerleader. They're not going to encourage you. But that don't mean it can't be done. See, the coach told Michael Jordan you wasn't good enough. Michael had to make a choice. He had to make a choice. He could have went home and accepted that. He could have lived in that, but he decided that was just his opinion. And he went on to become the greatest basketball player, I think, that ever lived. Oprah Winfrey went to work one day, walked in the office. Her boss told her, I don't think this media thing is for you. Fired her. But look at her now. Tyler Perry, homeless, sleeping in a car. But they understood. Your attitude determines your altitude. People in life are going to tell you what you cannot do. Everybody ain't gonna be on the bandwagon. They're going to tell you what you can and what you cannot do. But you just got to keep believing. You just got to keep believing. Understand that every day is about you determining good or bad, gain or loss, success or failure, in order to you will never regret the price that you pay for it. All of us are going to have to pay a price, and that's what education is about. Life is about making sacrifices. Sometimes you got to, I always say, same thing I say about being, a champion. I was working a basketball camp one time, and I asked B.J. Armstrong, some of you probably don't know who B.J. Armstrong is, but B.J. Armstrong was a point guard who played with Michael Jordan. I say, B.J., if there's one thing, just give me one thing that you learned from Michael Jordan, and don't give it to me long, because, I got young people, they got a short attention span. He said, what would it be that you learned from Michael Jordan? He said that champions are willing to do what no one else is willing to do. Champions are willing to do what no one else is willing to do. And I am here today to encourage you young people to become champions. Not about being a champion baseball player, not about being a champion football player, but it's about being a champion in life. And so sometimes being a champion requires sacrifice. That means that when your friends, you got that homework or that paper that you got to get done, and your friends want to go to the Mall of America, sometimes you got to be able to say no. You got to be able to say no. Sometimes you got to have the courage to ask that question that's burning inside of you. See, champions are willing to do what no one else is willing to do. You need help, you get up early in the morning. I was just watching the football game last night, and they were talking about a young man who was playing center last night for the San Diego Chargers, who never played center in his life. But now he's playing professional football, and he's a center, and he's got to get up 5:30 in the morning to go sit with the quarterback so that he can be ready for the game plan. Sometimes being a champion requires sacrifice. Champions are willing to do what no one else is willing to do. So again, I encourage you, don't be afraid to pay the price. See, last year, I was watching the Super Bowl, And I heard an interview that inspired me. Russell Wilson was given an interview as he had been selected as the MVP of the Super Bowl. And he was saying when he was younger, people used to always tell him that, the last quarterback that was 5'10" that played in the NFL, Joe Theismann. 5'10" guys don't play quarterback in the NFL, and they certainly don't win Super Bowls. And he said sometime he used to go home and he would get discouraged. He would get discouraged and he would say, his dad would try to encourage him and he would get discouraged, but he'd say, Dad, he said, there is no 5'10" quarterbacks in the NFL. And his dad will respond, well then, why not you? His dad would respond, why not you? And so today, as I begin to kind of wrap up, and I want to make sure that, am I doing okay with time? Oh, okay, I got plenty of time. See, sometimes I could be like a Baptist preacher. But what I want to say is, before I go there, is Russell Wilson's dad would always say, why not you? See, some of you all are probably struggling because, like I said, our problem is not the hardware. The biggest challenge that most of us have is the software and the programmers. It's the software and the programmers. And I'm going to say to all the mentors and the adults in the room, sometime if you want to know what's going on with our young people, just listen to their music. Tell you a lot about some of the challenges that they have and what's going on if you just listen to their music. But what I'm here to say today, when we talk about change your mind, you can change your life, that we've got to begin to program ourselves differently. We got to begin to program ourselves differently. Heard it all the time as I was telling you my story. I mean, Larry, why do nobody from the James E. Scott Project ever become anything. Why are you doing what you're doing? I stand here today and I say all the time, if I was to put my movie up, most people today know me as Coach Mackenzie, but the movie ain't pretty. Made some mistakes. Hung out with the wrong people. But in spite of my circumstances, in spite of being that kid born to a teen mom growing up in the projects, again, understood that my attitude determines my altitude. And so when people tell you what you cannot do, what you've got to learn to do is this. You've got to become your biggest cheerleader. You've got to become your biggest cheerleader. And when you learn to believe in you, people will believe in you. So in spite of what they're telling you, and we hear it all the time. Every time we pick up the paper, particularly in this state, young people of color, talking about the achievement gap, talking about not being able to graduate, telling you what you cannot do. But I'm here today to tell you, don't believe the hype. That if your desire is to be a doctor, a lawyer, a scientist, whatever that is, as Russell Wilson's dad used to say, why not you? See, all of you all, this is junior, seniors? Seniors. And this may be a little bit of a challenge. But even in 2014, I know some of you all are faced with the circumstances that you might be the first one in your family to get a high school diploma. But my response would be, why not you? Somebody's going to graduate at the top of the class. Why not you? Somebody's going to get accepted into that college of their first choice. Why not you? Somebody in this room potentially can be the next Steve Zuckerberg. Why not you? Somebody in this room has a potential to be the next Oprah Winfrey. Why not you? Somebody sitting here right now today has a potential to be the police chief of Bloomington. Why not you? Somebody's going to have an opportunity to coach some kids one day in their life. I won 4 championships, but somebody gets a chance to win 5. Why not you? Somebody potentially sitting here today has a cure for cancer. Why not you? If you could change your mind, you could change your life. And it starts right here, what we put into this computer. And I just want to tell you today that you just got to keep believing. You got to keep believing. It doesn't matter what it looked like. It doesn't matter what it looked like. So as I begin to close, I just want to say to all of the adults, continue to encourage these young people. And young people, I tell you, I want you to know that you are indeed our greatest resource. You're our greatest resource. And we're counting on you. We're counting on you. Forget about your circumstances. No matter what your situation is, you're not the first and you're not the last. And I'm here today to tell you that the beauty of life is this. Even if you've made some mistakes, because we all do, the beauty of life is this. It doesn't matter about your past. It doesn't matter about what you did on December 7th, because you can't go back and you can't change any of that. If you haven't been serious about your education, the beautiful thing is that December 8, 2014, this is the beginning of a new day. And you have been blessed with this day to use as you will. Know that you can decide, good or bad, gain or loss, success or failure. The world is yours to capture. Go out and make a difference. Change your mind, change your life. God bless you, and I look for some great things happening. Thank you.